Hello there. Good to see you again. Ian Cathcart here, Flemington Hallside Parish Church minister, and this is Flemington Hallside Parish Church YouTube channel. We appear to be, as the phrase has it, flattening the curve. We appear to be, in some fashion, making an impact on the spread of the disease. There's obviously now real discussions as to when and how quickly the economy gets opened up again. So there's lots of positives. But something just struck me yesterday. It's not just a physical attack that this coronavirus seems to make. The way in which it just spreads through a whole country and can affect so many people. It affects people mentally as well. If you're trapped in with lockdown. There's one particular story which grabbed my attention. It was an accident and emergency doctor in New York. She was part of the COVID-19 response in the hospital where she was based. Apparently very, very good. She caught the virus. She self-isolated for more than a week, not only from her work colleagues in the hospital, but also her family as well. Recovered from the virus, went back to work, and within a very short number of days ended up taking her life. She committed suicide last Sunday. She was psychologically overwhelmed by the enormity of this virus and the way it was affecting the culture, and it was sapping her of energy and the ability to hope. We concentrate, as we will this evening, clapping, 8 o'clock, hope you do. We concentrate rightly on thanking people for working in the NHS, for contending with this virus in such a direct fashion, literally on the front line, for people who are in nursing homes, for people who are in hospital wards, for people who literally go head to head with this particular virus. And we constantly focus on the physical danger that they're in from catching the virus. But more than a month into lockdown, more than a month into the very real cost of this virus in the number of lives that it's taken, it's not just people who are in lockdown who are suffering the consequences mentally. It's people who are actually doctors and nurses and who are going into nursing homes and who are just seeing a lot of people pass away. And as a consequence, we need to recognise that as well as praying and thinking about the people who find it very difficult to stay in lockdown, we need to be praying for the mental health and the well-being of those who are dealing with those suffering and dying from this particular virus, because it can be overwhelming for them as well. You can't really talk about that without recognising down through the centuries, Christians have always had a certain antipathy towards suicide. They've seen it as something that should be judged and something that should be condemned. This is 1 Kings chapter 19, and it's a passage that's often quoted when these issues come to the fore. Elijah has gone basically Baal hunting. He's got, if you worship Baal, you have a kind of totem pole type arrangement and you worship on mountaintops, and he had he had chopped them down and hadn't really been clearly was not an advocate for worshipping Baal. And then he had, there's no nice way of saying this, he had put a lot of prophets to the sword, as you're about to hear. So basically, King Ahab, who's supposed to be in charge of leading the people to worship the God that we worship, he lets himself be led astray by his wife, Jezebel. And so when she hears what he's done, she goes after him. And so, having had lots of success, ultimately Elijah runs away. This is 1 Kings chapter 19. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a message to Elijah saying, "So may the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow." Then he was afraid, and he arose and ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree, and he asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he lay down and slept under a broom tree. What happens next is that God intercedes. I'm just wanting to focus on the fact that Elijah felt, and I don't think there's any other way of saying it, suicidal. He's going up against forces that he doesn't really know how he can contend with. He certainly knows he's got the attention, in a very negative sense, from Jezebel, and by definition, Ahab as well, the king. Any of us can feel overwhelmed. Any of us can despair. And any of us can feel suicidal. The doctor in New York was called Dr. Lorna Breen. She's very, very good at her job, and was considered to be a strong individual. The last one you would imagine going to take her own life in this situation. I'm just suggesting that, as well as applauding tonight at 8 o'clock, pray for the mental health of any nurse, doctor, anyone involved in the NHS, and indeed for those going in to help with the care of the elderly in nursing homes. But because they have to deal with so much death, it would be important for you to pray for them in terms of their mental health. But also, if you know anybody, or if you know anybody who knows NHS staff, care staff, don't be afraid to ask the very serious questions. Are you coping? Are you safe? But not just are you safe because you haven't caught the coronavirus. Are you safe in terms of your mental health? Because this affects people. Pray for them, recognising that a month in, the issues are different. They're changing. Some people are submerging in the enormity of it. Equally, as you recognise from the TV screens, some people are blossoming in it. The difficulty is, it's often hard to tell the difference. Elijah found things to be at their worst after his major success. It's not to do with success. It's to do with that sense of the enormity of what you're up against and the insignificance of who you are. Who do you need to be praying for? Better still, who do you need to be asking directly, how are you? Physically and mentally. It can happen to anyone. Go with God, because I know God goes with you. More importantly, who do you need to let know that God goes with them today? Good to see you. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.